little show on Disney Plus. I don't know if you guys have heard of it or not, but we are definitely going to be spoiling it. I know that there are a couple people in the chat right now that do want to talk about this pretty heavily because I know we're at a big tipping point for this show. I feel, and we got 7 people watching us right now. We're about to dive into some of our thoughts on the Mandalorian. Chapter 23, Season 3, Episode 7, The Spies. Just that title alone has had a lot of questions behind it, and the kind of plural nature of that title. But TJ, I took first spot here with Mario, so I want to know,
Mm.
what did you think of actually, I've been doing my immediate reaction videos to the Mandalorian, but we haven't really talked about the Mandalorian
Right.
a ton on the main show here. So kind of give me what you've been thinking about the show overall, and kind of where you think it's going to go, and if we're taking Elia Kane as the spy, who is the other spy? Who are the spies? And I'm going to go grab water real quick.
All right. Yeah, so far for season 3, it's been pretty up and down so far, I'd say. I thought it started decently strong. Then we get episodes like not this previous episode, but the one before that with Lizzo and Jack Black, which was kind of all just a little disjointed. We have the ending with Bo-Katan, getting the dark saber, but it's kind of very weird and funky in the way she gets it, and it's a whole thing. But I thought this most recent episode was just a true return to form. Kind of makes you wonder why the show wasn't this good throughout the entire season, I guess. And yeah, everything just kind of worked for me. I thought it was a fantastic cold open with Giancarlo coming back as Moff Gideon and having that little Shadow Council meeting, which I thought was cool. I don't know if that's ever referred to before. Is that been
Yeah.
ever? Okay, it has been. You get some relatives of some characters that we already know, which I thought was really
Mm-hmm.
cool. Really
Miss
tying in,
Brendel Hux.
and we saw this with the whole cloning thing in season 2, I think it was. They're really starting to try and tie in and fill in those gaps in the sequel trilogy, which I really like because again,
Mm-hmm.
it just it fleshes it out more. You're getting more information that Rise of Skywalker did not give you whatsoever when they just told
I
you and
know.
you're supposed to believe it.
Have you watched that since 2019?
Yeah, I've watched it I think one other time.
I still haven't, but I feel like I might want to.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of hyped up on the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
People have. I'll let you continue. I just want to
Mm.
jump in when you said that about the sequel trilogy getting filled in. People have always said the last couple of years, like, oh, are we gonna get an animated show like Rebels? Fleshed out the original trilogy. Uh, Clone Wars fleshed out the prequel trilogy. Are we gonna get like an animated show? I think we're getting our answer, which is we already have it, which is all of these shows. I think, like you said, they're doing a great job, especially this week. And again, we're in spoiler territory here for the Mandalorian with the Praetorian Guards coming in, Brendel Hux coming in, Pelion. Obviously, we're building up even more with Thrawn. So yeah, I mean, but keep going. Well, what do you think about the spies? What do you think? Do we think? I got some water, but I also got I have, you can't see it right now, but I always have Din
Mm-hmm.
and Baby Gragu, as I've started calling him, Baby Gragu. Um, but I wanted to get this lady off of my other shelf under my TV. What's going on in that
Yes,
helmet?
yes, I've
What's
heard.
going on
I
there?
heard. I forget what I was watching. Who said it? But somebody pointed that out. That was like, I wonder if she's the spy. And I'll be honest. When she said she was going
Questionable.
back to drop off those injured those other Mandalorians, when they kept showing the ship, like, going through all that like the storm in the atmosphere. I was like, oh, she's gonna get like blown to bits or something because they keep showing it. And then we see her like reach space, and then we don't see her again. Um, and everybody, that's a very good possibility. I don't know what her motivation would be, but it's a very big possibility. Maybe she's some. I don't even know, but
Well, there's the I think there's the super deep lore theory, which
mm,
is that we could see her being Rook Cast, who was
That's a deep cut.
a
I don't know who
character.
that is.
So that's, if you think back, she is extremely a deep cut. I think it's
Okay.
only like 4 episodes in Rebels, and then implied. Nope, other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Implied in Rebels, a few episodes in the Siege of Man. Oh, sorry, my brain is like, I said a few episodes in the Siege of Mandalore. Siege of Mandalore is only 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
She is Gar Saxon's like right hand woman. So
Got it.
so in Siege of Mandalore, she's the one that's like his right hand
Okay.
basically.
Yep.
We don't know what happened to her. She's mentioned in Rebels as potentially still being on the table. So that's kind of the deep cut theory, is that maybe the armorer is Rook Cast and has always, because there's also the why, and now I would say even deeper. I guess I should have brought over. I have a Gar Saxon Funko Pop as well, but Gar Saxon's helmet looks almost identical to Moff Gideon's, and what all three have in common is the horns.
Mm.
The only people that we've ever seen have horns on their Mandalorian helmets were the people loyal to Maul.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on because she's such a stoic kind of obtuse character, really.
Right.
Um, but I think in terms of motivation, if you want to talk about that, I think maybe, I just feel like she wants the way. You know what I mean? She's always said, this is the way. It's not until these last few episodes where she's like, you know what? Yeah, hey man, Bo-Katan, why don't you take your helmet off? Unite everybody. Go for it. Like, it felt kind of like, yeah, go for it. Let's bring them all into one place.
And we can kill them
Uh,
all.
yeah, exactly. Or, just a couple weeks ago, when that kind of happened, we were thinking, you know, why is she giving Bo this power? She's always wanted, um, honestly, she says this is the way, but it's her way.
Mm-hmm.
It's her way or the highway, to be honest. Din takes his helmet off once. She didn't even see him do it. He just confessed to it, and she goes, "You're out, buddy. You're done. You gotta. That was this season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so then to have it be 4 or 5 episodes later, all of a sudden she's like, you know what? No, Bo-Katan can walk both ways. We gotta stick together in this. Like it felt kind of like a weird switch up. But then also this episode we have the introduction of Skinny Pete and a couple other, and Charles Parnell from Top Gun Maverick as these
That's what it's
Mandalorian
from. I go,
pirates.
that guy looks really
Um,
familiar.
yeah,
Must
I
not.
forget what show I was watching, but they thought he was the sea snake, Corliss from House of the Dragon, and I was
Mm.
like, no, that's not what he's from, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, he was Warlock in Top Gun. But then we also get Skinny Pete from Breaking Bad, um, who again you and I were talking about a couple weeks ago. The Jack Black and Lizzo thing. It's like, this is how you do, not necessarily cameos, but like, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah.
Like
Uh-huh.
that's what this
Yeah.
show really needs, is you need to be like, oh,
Oh,
that's
that guy.
so
Yeah,
cool that they
right.
got them. Not like, oh, that's Jack Black and Lizzo.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was very like jarring. But we also have those guys on the table now. They lead them right to the forge, right into the trap. So, was that genuine, or did they lead them there on purpose? Um I think there's a lot of questions, but where are you leaning kind of with that? And then we'll kind of get into where we're at with IG-12 and Grogu,
Oh
and then
yeah.
also where Din ultimately ends up in this episode, and then we'll talk about the sad thing at the end.
Yeah. I'm starting to lean towards that. Maybe she is the other spy. Obviously,
Hmm.
we got very little of Elia Elia Kane.
Elia Kane,
Elia
yeah,
Kane.
yeah, because she's only in the cold open.
Yeah.
That's it.
So obviously she's kind of like this false uh she's acting as though she's been turned to, the New Republic side,
Hmm.
while she actually hasn't. I mean, obviously we saw that in I forget what I think 2 episodes ago, before that, with Dr. Pershing and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
Um So I think that's probably it. Again, I think, and I said this. Well, you might have heard me, but I was like, I don't really know why the show wasn't this good throughout the entire season.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have shortened it. Dare I
Mhm.
say, instead of go on these kind of side missions that really don't amount to anything. But I'm really excited. This has me really excited for next week. I'll tell you that much. And I really like how we're building. We're putting more things into place to make everything else make sense, and
Yeah.
that is really cool for me. And I'm assuming a lot of people.
100%. Yeah, I want to get to some of these chats here. We have Michelle saying two of the spies for sure were Elliot and the armorer. So it looks like really buying the armorer thing there. I mean, how would Moff Gideon get the suits made without the armorer? That is something I didn't even
Fair
think
enough.
about.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't even
when
think about
he came down, or when they started running, and you start to see like this is like, I was like, oh, this looks like a ship. I was like, oh shit. I was like, they're
yeah,
like walking right into him.
it felt like Fallen Order. It was
Yeah.
like how come how come hey, did you notice that the walls changed from
Yeah.
rock to metal a few paces back?
Yeah.
And then when they turn the corner and you see those like Death Star Imperial like long
Yeah.
lights on the wall, you know, like you're like, "Uh-oh, this
How
is
about
real
those?
bad." And then
How about those
anger.
new and improved? What are they? Are those Death Troopers? Is that
I
what he calls
so
them? I forget.
he calls himself so the armor that he's wearing
Hmm.
is what he says is the new and improved Death Trooper.
Right.
Which I think is interesting too because last season Pershing said um that the Death Trooper was perfected by removing the pilot. He said
Mm.
removing the pilot and taking the humanity
Oh yeah,
out
those
of
are the
it.
ones Luke like absolutely
Vicious.
destroys, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So those ones were not Beskar,
Yeah.
obviously. These ones are. Um but I also think it goes to show like the hubris, obviously, which is a huge Star Wars thing of Moff Gideon, because he literally says, and the biggest improvement of all is now it has
Yeah.
me. I've been doing a Moff Gideon impression all day.
Uh,
You have something I want. Um, but just the arrogance on him, and then going back to the cold open, the fact that he has any delusion of standing up against Thrawn
yeah.
is like is
Oh yeah.
the cutest thing I've ever seen. Um, and also I loved Captain Pelion getting mentioned. We had also, if we just want to take a quick sidestep into news, real quick, we got a potential Eli Vanto casting, which would be really, really cool from some of the Thrawn novels. But yeah, the Moff Gideon stuff with that. I think this show has really been missing him. To go to your
Uh,
point of like maybe it should have been less episodes, maybe. Um,
which is something you wouldn't think that would make sense, but given the
Because
quality of the
and
show of season
we
three.
talked about that with the Bad Batch mid-season. We were like, man, if this was 12 instead of 16, or even 10 instead of 16, it'd be just a perfect tight Star Wars show. And then when by the time you get to the finale, all the things that were, not filler, but that we were like, why did we need this? All of a sudden made sense. We
Mhm.
needed the crosshair, one-off episodes to show where he's at. We needed even the riot racing one with Tech because you're seeing the life that Tech realizes he could maybe have that then makes it even more impactful when it's taken away from him.
Mhm.
This season of The Mandalorian, I'm not sure we're gonna get that. I don't know if we're gonna get the you know, oh, in the finale, and now you go back and it all, they did need to see Lizzo, because Grogu being a knight, it saved the
Yeah.
day. They
Mhm.
were like, well, actually, you can't capture him because he's a knight of this one planet. Um, that being said, actually, now that I'm talking about that, I actually do think that the Lizzo thing is going to come back up because remember, her and Jack Black both say that they will petition the New Republic, um, to make Mandalore a sovereign state again. So I actually think that those characters might actually come up again. But um, that being said, let's move on here to Din. To Din and Grogu and everything like that. We get what did you think about the kind of resolution from the premiere about IG-11 becoming this kind of Grogu mech, and breaking up the fight between Axe and Paz. everything like that. You know, having agency, being a
Mhm.
little thief, like Ezra Bridger style, stealing some fruit.
Yeah.
How did you kind of feel about that of Grogu now kind of being able to be in the fight more directly?
Yeah, I thought that was cool. At first I was like, this thing is like hella slow. Like when they were running through the cavern, I was like, I think he's gonna get like
Yeah,
lost back there. He's
yeah,
I think at one point he says, keep up, and he's
yeah,
moving the little legs. Um, yeah, I thought that was cool to bring that back. Um, I thought the whole kind of yes no thing was really funny. I think that's a great way for to allow him to communicate as well,
yeah.
um, which is cool. Um, but yeah, I was pretty happy with it. I'm assuming they'll probably just keep going with it. I don't know when it would like, if he kind of outgrows it at some point or whatever. But
Yeah, my guess is they'll probably, although it seems like all of a sudden, everybody was like, well, no, you have to understand, he's at the N1 now because he's given up the life of a bounty hunter. He needs a smaller ship, but half the season they've just been in Bo-Katan's ship
oh yeah,
anyways. So it's like maybe they'll just, they'll keep it on the ship
mm-hmm,
as like, does Grogu need his pod today, or does he need his suit?
mm-hmm,
Um but yeah, I thought it worked great. I know some people weren't happy with it, Grogu in his little power suit, but I thought it was great. Like you, I like the yes no,
yeah,
like Grief Karga being like, come on, let him try it. Like, and he's like, he's too young. He's 20 years older than you, Din.
yeah,
Like, and I hate the implication though that like Grogu's been able to understand everybody the entire time.
mm,
But because he's just in regular conversation with them now, and it's like, so did he know he was eating the frog lady's children?
yeah,
But I guess we don't look too much into that. Um, let's move on here to Din, and then we'll talk about Paz at the end here. But Din is not in a good spot. So we know he's, as much beef as Gideon has with Bo-Katan, in these last few years, he's got just as much beef with Din. And he definitely saw the opportunity to move on that, and to take Din off the board, by capturing him, which I thought was a pretty harrowing scene. I would say I
yeah.
was I was really
Doing his
worried
best.
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought he
he
might
was
die,
pulling out.
honestly. When he dropped to his
I
knees,
did,
I thought they might
yeah.
just kill him right there. I was
I
like, "Oh
I I
shit."
literally, for a second, I thought that they were just gonna behead him
Yes,
right there,
that's what I
right then and
thought.
there.
Uh-huh.
Because there was a warning. I don't know if you saw. There was a warning. Disney Plus always has the warnings in the
Oh,
top left,
okay.
and it said warning, brutal violence, or depictions of
Oh,
brutal
I must have missed
violence.
that,
I'm
yeah.
assuming because of Pass.
Right.
But it said that, and I was like, oh. I can't remember if that's ever said that
Yeah.
before. And then he dropped to his knees, and they had him like tied up, and he was like this.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god, Jon Snow's about to come through with ice and take his head off." But um, then he gets kind of taken away to the debriefing or interrogation room or whatever it is, and that kind of makes the way for Paz Vizsla
Mhm.
to move forward here, um, into kind of protecting the other Mandalorians while they try to escape out the back. Also, another thing that we didn't mention is, during the firefight, Axe Woves was able to get out of the
Mhm.
cavern and escape to try and warn the others. Although if the armorer is up to no good, maybe it's too late for that anyways. Um, but yeah, what were your kind of thoughts on Din getting captured, them escaping? What do you think's gonna happen with Axe Woves? Could we see potentially Boba Fett come in here? I know Rick Famuyiwa definitely
Whoa.
teased Boba Fett, because Rick Famuyiwa
I
obviously
think that's
directed
definitely a
a
possibility.
couple episodes. I would say, for me, I think it's probably more than a
It's
possibility.
probably given.
Yeah, I think only because it'd be one thing to be like, well, the shows are kind
They
of,
already intersected and
yeah, they
yeah.
already intersect, but also it's the personal, um really, honestly, one of the main complaints that I have about the show, that really looking back has been there since day one, but really this season it's really apparent. There's really just not much character work in this show, like at all. I would say this show is almost entirely absent of character work, to
Mm.
be honest. especially when you compare it to something like Andor. But two of the best character building scenes in this entire Mandoverse so far was this episode with the beautiful, I would say, like almost Doctor Who sad melancholy moment of
Oh yeah.
him giving that speech to Bo and saying, you know, um, character, honor. These are the things that I care about. Your song is yet to be written, and I will be with you until it is.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, damn. And then another one that made me feel that same way was in the Rick Famuyiwa episode of Boba Fett, where Din and Boba are kind of making their last stand in the cantina. And Din says to Boba, I will stay by your side until we both fall.
Mhm.
And so they have that connection where Boba and Din have that connection where
Yeah.
Boba knows that Din was there for
I
he
would
was
say you
ready to
probably
die
feel as
with
though
him.
maybe Boba Fett owes Din a little bit. To
Yeah,
some
and I
extent.
feel like probably Boba Fett feels like
Yeah.
he owes Din a little bit because the guy was willing to put his life on the line for Boba, really for
Yeah.
nothing else than to help him. So I feel like maybe we'll see that reciprocated. Um but let's talk a little bit about Paz as well. Who, well, what do you I mean, you explain it. What do you think about Paz? How have you felt about this 3-season journey we've had with him leading up to this, ultimate moment of major sacrifice really for the entire covert?
Uh, yeah, that worked for me. I thought he was, him and his big giant Gatling gun. I think is really cool. And
Which, as a Star Wars video game fan, I loved. This was the first ever overheat that we've seen
yes,
in live
when
action.
I was seeing it
I was
like get
like, "That's
hotter and
right,
hotter,
Iden
I was like,
Versio."
here it goes. It's gonna like,
Yeah,
it's gonna get overheat and all that other stuff.
he's gonna need to
Um,
press X at the exact right
right,
time.
exactly. I thought that was really cool. I thought those were some really good scenes showing, as soon as he runs out of that, he starts beating dudes up and until, my favorite, of course, new and improved Imperial guards come in and just absolutely
Mhm.
make easy work of him.
Yeah.
Which
They
finally,
murder him.
finally,
They murder him.
finally they get to do something. Thank God.
Yeah.
you know, the highlight before that was, Yoda in Revenge of the Sith pushing them away. And then
Yeah.
Palpatine in Return of the Jedi says, leave us. They say, see
Yeah.
ya. But and obviously Last Jedi. But yeah, I liked him as a character. I liked seeing a like kind of tank Mandalorian almost, where he's
100%, yeah.
bigger and bulkier kind of guy. And he's really sticking to what they're preaching. And I thought I think however many episodes ago that was his like kind of speech saying, talking to Bo-Katan saying, we will fight with you
Yeah.
and all that stuff. I thought that was awesome. So to see him kind of, like you said, sacrifice himself, I think that really, that works with what his character has
Mhm.
been doing recently.
Specifically for Bo.
Right, yeah. Because he believes
Specifically,
in what she's doing.
yeah, because she says, there's a point in which, he can, he sees that everyone else has escaped, but she's staying behind for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he could very easily have said like, all right, let's go, but he knows even if he turns his back, he's not going to let her die. And that's a great character moment. And then also another thing that we got to talk about is Ragnar. He didn't even get to say goodbye to his dad.
Oh, yeah.
Dad's dead.
Right.
Like, we spent so much time building up their relationship and then just, but again, that's, to be fair to this show, that's another thing that I'm like, you can get any moment with Paz and his son, like,
Are
to
we
be
ever gonna
like,
come back to the whole monster on Mandalorian or on Mandalore? Remember the thing that we saw?
yeah, the mythosaur in the
Mythosaur?
second
Yeah.
episode.
What's gonna happen with that?
My worry is that next episode Bo's gonna be like, that's right, the mythosaur, and then like ride it into battle and take out Gideon and all. And I'm like, dude, if you can't, if it took Boba 4 episodes to ride the Rancor, she should not just be hopping on that. I mean, I get, okay, she's Clan Kreese and they're, Mandalore through and through, but like, if she just hops on the mythosaur and's like, let's go, like let's ride, that would be a little too far for me. But I hope maybe they'll come. Maybe they just lead the mythosaur to this place because I think how do you get rid of this giant Imperial installation? A giant monster would probably help. But I don't know. I just hope that they don't rush it with that because I really don't want like her to just all of a sudden Deus Ex Mythosaur, into this place and be like, I saved the day. Um, Especially if she knew it was down there and knew that she could maybe use it. Like, why didn't you use it earlier? I think that you just open yourself up to some issues. But yeah, I mean, the emotions of it, as I'll say straight up, as underdeveloped as Paz Vizsla was as a character, I still felt it. When he
Mm-hmm.
when he went. Um, I still really felt it, and felt bad. And like I said, I'll use the M word. Like they straight up murdered him. They stabbed him in the through the gut, up into the heart, down the shoulder, through the leg, and then pushed. Like they didn't just get him. They got him, and then all three of them went. "Ugh," and then pulled it out, and he just dropped, man. And that was just a great ending. But we got Din captured, Grogu. Also, everything with Grogu's reaction to all that, I mean, it was just absolutely heartbreaking. You have these. He's going after Melu runs in the marketplace, and then 20 minutes later, we get this awful shot of him reacting to who, just like us, the audience, thought his dad was about to be killed right in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was a real big step again in the right direction. But I saw one tweet that was like, this season has been Act 1 was episodes 1 through 6, Act 2 was 7, and then Act 3 is 8. And it's like episodes 1 through 6 should not be just the first act of your show.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not a less episodes, but just spread it out more. Think
Yeah.
about how much more time you could have gotten with Gideon and any of these people and everything. But um, last question here on Mandalorian, and then we will move on to Celebration. Um, Next episode, season finale, last episode of Star Wars television that we will get. Well, we're getting Visions on May 4th, but the last episode of canon Star Wars television we're going to get before Ahsoka. Do we think that, whether it's post-credit or whatever, that Thrawn is showing up? Because remember, last season did end with a post-credit scene for Book of Boba Fett.
No. Oh, yeah,
And
I
we
guess
did get
maybe
a
that's
lot of talk about him.
actually I think maybe, yeah. I think post credit scene Thrawn, then you get the full Thrawn experience in Ahsoka probably.
Yeah.
Just
I
because you
would not be
speaking about
surprised.
that post credit scene in Boba, that kind of tracks.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if it is just think Rebels season 3 trailer of Dark Shadows talking, and then just boom, a step into the light, and then cut to black. Ahsoka August 2023, something like that. But yeah, I think I would put it. I would say 80% likely. In my opinion, I think whether it's in the actual episode or just in a post-credit scene, I would say pretty likely that we're gonna get our first look at Thrawn next week. But that's our thoughts on the Mandalorian. Let us know what you thought so far about the season, about the show overall. Do you think that this week's episode is going to be the end of it? Are we even going to get a season 4? What do you think about rumors about Pedro not wanting to be in the show anymore? Do you think Din's leaving? Do you think that Din isn't the main character of the show anymore? Which we could talk another hour about that, but um, let us know what you thought down below. And while you're down there, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with a Mandalorian fan or a Star Wars fan in general. But that will do it for Mandalorian.